Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from Alex Merced Coder, and this is again another video on that express exercise that we're doing. So what I'm going to do is in this video, we're going to deploy the project we have so far. In the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the video up into two repos, so that way you can see how you can separate the front end and the back end and deploy them completely separately, and it all still works. Okay, so this is again this whole dog API. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this, just so that way I have it for later on. That's one copy. I'll leave it there for now. And we're going to go back into here. Okay, so we want to deploy this to the interwebs. First thing I'm going to want to do is I want to create a .gitignore file. .gitignore file. The reason is I'm going to put this in a Git repository, and there's certain things I just don't want pushed to Git. Primarily that .env file. I do not want that pushed to Git because that can expose my URL for Mongo, etc. And I don't want the node modules folder being uploaded because it's just not necessary. Basically, generally anywhere you deploy it to will just run the node install command, install that for you, so you don't have to. You're just wasting space on GitHub if you do that. So I want those two in there. Good. And now that I have those two in there, I'm going to go into my project folder, test1, and I'm going to initialize a Git repository, git init, and then I'm going to git add everything. I should add everything except the stuff in my git ignore. And then I'm going to git commit first commit. First commit. There we go. Okay, so that pushes all, that gets everything in my local Git repository. And two things I'm going to need to do. I do need to recreate that username, because again I had that set up to be active for a day last time for Mongo. So I'm just going to do that real quick. MongoDB. Sign in. Okay, I think we did it with, like we said. Okay, let's get in there. And then I also want to go to GitHub because I'm going to create a new repository to host this on. Okay, and what I want to do is I am going to create a new project to store all these repositories in. So I'm just going to call this teaching. So that way all these repositories are kind of in one place. So create a new project, coordinate, track, update, all your work in one place, so project stay transparent, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Oh no, that just seems like more work than it's worth. So we're just gonna call this Teaching Express 1. Okay. And I'm just gonna make it a public repository. And then what I'm gonna need to do is link this repo up to the repo here. So I'm going to do git remote add. So I'm adding a link to a remote repository. Git remote add origin is what we'll call it. That's always the default anyways. And I paste the GitHub link, and there we go. And just to make sure that it's added, I type in git remote, and I can see now there's an origin remote. And now I can do git push origin master, and that pushes up the repository. Good. Okay. Now, what I want to do next, so if I hit refresh on this, there's a repository with all the work. Again, I want to make sure we make that username again. Add new user database. Again, we want to make it was test, and then it was password 12345, and temporary user. Yep. So we'll just do it for another day again. And add user. Okay, good. Okay, so that user is again available to us, so I don't need Mongo at the moment. It'll connect to the same database that we're already working with. Now I'm going to go over to Heroku. So you want to open up an account on Heroku. So I'm just close all this stuff, and you're going to log in to your account on Heroku. Actually, I don't want to log into that account. I want to log into this account. Okay, MLab is shutting down, but we're using Mongo Atlas, so that's fine. So what do? We're going to create a new project. So we're going to go create new app and call it Express Teaching 1. Then I'm going to add it. And there's different deployment methods. You could use Heroku Git, which means you're going to connect a remote to Heroku and then push it to Heroku directly. To make it even easier, let's connect it to your GitHub. So that way you only have one repository you have to push to, and every time you push to this repository, it'll automatically update your website. So I'm going to go GitHub connect deployment method. Okay, and then we're going to connect to our GitHub account. So I'm going to click here, connect to GitHub. Okay. That's all fine. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. Try it again. Repositories. Okay. So let's just authorize Heroku to have access to my account. And there we go. So now it has access to my account. And now I can say, hey, I wanted to teaching. I'll just type in Express. Okay, and there's Teaching Express 1. I'm going to connect it to this particular project, to this repo. Okay. And then I'm going to enable automatic deploy, so that way every time I push to this project, it automatically deploys. Okay. And if you had different branches, you could choose different branches to deploy to. So you could have, usually you just deploy your master branch. And then if you wanted to manually deploy it, so only have it build when you choose to have it build, you can just click this button. But I'm going to have it be automatic. So we'll just say enable automatic deploys. And it should be deployed. Okay, so now let's go to the overview. Let's watch, it should be building. Okay, let's refresh. Oh, actually, I think I have to do the initial one manually, because technically it's already been connected, so it's waiting for another push before it does this kicks in. So I'm going to do one manually, deploy branch. And then here you can see it actually go through the process, so it's deploying. So you just watch it deploy. Do. And it's been deployed, and let's see, we see it's successful. So we can go view app was successfully deployed. Okay, that's fine because there's technically nothing there. Actually, wait a second. That should be working. So one moment. So when you see this Heroku log fail, that means something didn't go right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to my terminal, and we want to see the logs. So we're going to go Heroku logs -- tail. Now I did not connect this repo to Heroku directly, so in that case I have to tell Heroku what app. Okay, so we have to say app, I think it's app equals, and then what did we call it? The name of this repo is Express Teaching 1. Basically the name on Heroku, so Express Teaching 1. Heroku logs tail. Okay, this is a new computer. I haven't actually installed the Heroku CLI yet, so let's do that. Okay, so you want the Heroku CLI tools, so let's install that. Okay, that's not what I want to do. Install Heroku CLI tools. Okay, and then just figure out your operating system. I'm on Ubuntu, so it's just that. So I will just actually do it from here because I got a terminal open over here. Let that install. Oh. The snap command not found. That's wonderful. I can install snap too. Okay, so let's just do that first. Sudo apt install snap. Okay, give that a second to install snap. Okay, now we can do this again. Oh, wrong command. Interesting. Not finding the snap command. See here, does pop have it in the pop store? Heroku. No. Okay, I'm just gonna pause this while I figure that out. Okay, now that's done installing. So now let's get back to here. Let's try this command again. Heroku logs. Command cannot be located because snap-in is not included in the path environmental variable. Boo! Okay. Okay, let me go clean up my path variable. Okay, it's added to my path variables, so that's taken care of. So let's see here. Now this command should work. Again, you shouldn't have to go through all that when you install it, but it happened to me. So Heroku login, I need to log in. Okay, so what that's going to do is you're going to log into Heroku, the Heroku CLI. So press any key to open up a browser, push a key, it's going to open up the browser, I click login. It logs into my account. Okay, so that's done. Now if I go back over here, see I'm good to go. I'm logged in as Alex Merced at alexmerced.com. And then the next thing I got to do is then run that command again. And again, what this does is going to print out the logs of my server, but specifically of this application. Okay, and there we go. So let's take a look at where the error happened. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. We have to put in the Mongo URI. Because again, now here's what happened. The Mongo URL is in our environmental variables. So it's looking in our environmental variables, but Heroku doesn't get this .env file. We have to give Heroku those environmental variables manually. So I'm going to copy this over and just make sure that I give it the same name. So Mongo URI. So I'm going to head over to Heroku. Okay. And we're going to go to settings. And we're going to go to reveal config vars. Okay, so again, it's Mongo URI was the key. And the value was this. And then I also want to add the port. Well, the port I don't need to add because that's going to be automatic through Heroku will take care of that automatically. That's the one you don't want to fill out. Cool. Let me just make sure that's actually being used in the server. So go back to our port. Yep, good. And then that port's being filled in by process.env.port. Good. Okay, so that should all work good now. So now that I've replaced that variable, so that should fix that problem because now it'll be able to connect to the database. Let me go back to deploy. Let me rebuild this. Deploy branch. It's going to deploy it again, and hopefully this time that fixes the problem. Now we'll go take a look at the logs again and see if there's a new problem. And that's generally how you do this until it works. Build succeeded. That's good. Okay. And then I go to view. And there we go. We have our list of dogs. It's deployed. And now we can add a dog. Cutie, who's 4 years old. And it works. Okay, so there's our app is deployed. Okay, so this is the, again, just to kind of walk through this, basically this particular version of deployment. Right now, our front end is being served via the public folder. So it's all in one repo. Okay, now sometimes you want to do it that way. Sometimes you prefer to have them separately. So the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into a separate repo, and we're going to deploy this via Heroku like we did here, and we're going to deploy the front end via Netlify. Okay, but again, through the steps, all we have to do is just push our repo to GitHub, connect Heroku to that particular repo, and it's deployed. Now, if things don't work out the way I want them to work, you look at the logs. Okay, you look at the logs by using this command. You type in Heroku logs tail. And then whenever you use a Heroku command, if the repo isn't connected specifically to Heroku, then you have to specify what app it is with this flag here saying app this. okay, which is generally what you're going to do if you connect your GitHub repo to Heroku instead of connecting your local repo to Heroku. But I do think connecting your GitHub repo just makes it easier, because then you push it to GitHub, it triggers the deploy over there Heroku, so you never really have to be logging into Heroku once you have it set up. It just all automatically rebuilds every time, which is very, very nice. So hopefully that makes it easier for deployment to Heroku. Again, long as the package.json file is here in the root of your project, Heroku will know what to do. Okay, it can pretty much figure out that this is a node project and use the node build pack. So you don't really have to do any further configuration. Long as you keep it simple, that your package.json is here, and that you have a start script. Okay, because basically what it's going to do, it's going to run the start script by default. So you want to make sure that whatever it is that starts your application is in the script called start. Okay, that's the other thing to keep in mind. If not, if you want to do something other than start, then you do need to create something called a proc file. Okay, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But yeah, that's how you deploy your Express project to Heroku, and it's now live on the web. Then I'll see you guys in the next video where we'll split it up into two and do it that way.